it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, where we look at the important events, the celestial events in the stars and numbers that are about to unfold. And in this podcast, we're going to look at an incredible stellium. A stellium is 3 or more planets that are in the same location, and we have 4 in this stellium in Taurus. Uranus, which has been in Taurus for 2 to 3 years, the Sun, which just moved into Taurus, Mercury, and Venus, the ruler of Taurus. Those 4 are coming together in the same location in Taurus, and it's just so exciting when this happens because it really intensifies energy. In this case, the energy of Taurus, which is very much about acceptance, security, love, peace. And so the whole coming together of these 4 begins on April 18th, the Sun conjunct Mercury. Then it really heats up as Venus conjuncts Uranus on the 22nd, Mercury conjuncts Uranus on the 24th, Mercury conjuncts Venus on the 25th, and then on the 30th, we have the Sun conjunct Uranus. And the midpoint of all these conjunctions between these 4 happens on April 23rd. But really, it's this whole period that truly is a remarkable opportunity. So what is also happening is that on April 26th, 27th, we have the Scorpio full moon. And during the Scorpio full moon, these 4 planets will be bunched together and they will be opposite the moon. So have a look at that podcast as well. I believe it's episode 104, because it's a really dynamic situation here when we have such an intensity in one sign and it's opposite the moon, and then also it forms a T-square to Saturn. But let's look at the topic for today. So first of all, April in 2021 is a 9 universal month, and 2021, the year, is a 5 universal year. The numbers 5 and 9 represent a pivot point, change. It represents basically moving from one era to another, or one period in your life to a new period. So there's a lot of new beginnings energy. Now, the themes of freedom and love are very strong with the stellium because of Uranus, the planet of setting us free, and of course Taurus, which represents your values and the love of life, the pleasure of life. So Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, and when it gets activated, we feel more breakthrough energy. We feel more opportunities where we have the confidence to take risks and to embrace change and innovation and new inventive ways to move forward. And we embrace the future. Uranus is a planet associated with Aquarius, and they govern the realms of being excited about what is to come, and also revolutionary adjustments. So that is pretty obvious as well. So the calming impact of Taurus, the liberating influence of Uranus, the beauty and love of Venus, ruler of Taurus, and the ability to really think things through in a practical, uplifting way through Mercury joining these planets, and understanding as a result how love is what the universe is made from, and everything in the universe comes from this place of love. So Uranus likes us to go beyond our comfort zone. So something is telling you around this time to really, really follow those hunches, right? To have faith in the hunches. So this is not the same as having blind faith, which is more based on a belief. Like if you say, oh, I'm sure so-and-so is going to be well, or this is going to turn out. It's positive affirmation, but it's not the same as true faith. True faith is very much a spiritual, heart-centered feeling. It's very subtle. So, and it differs from, like I said, the blind faith. So I would I would really take this time to trust those hunches, those nudges that appear in your life that are really directing you, that are surprising you in many ways, but that are they always end up in an uplifting result, right? There is a sense of a joyful trust in the universe. And since Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is part of the stellium in Taurus, your values about everything that is beautiful and artistic and joyful and loving is going to really be enhanced. So notice what you're attracted to, right? And pay attention to beauty in your life, to art, to pleasure, because it will often direct you exactly where you need to go. So Uranus in Taurus helps with productivity in terms of your exciting, inventive ideas, leading you way to help you create financial flow and help you to use your talents and your gifts and help you feel secure in your unique expression and to use your voice as a resource, especially when it comes from a place of loving attention. So your sensuality is heightened in this stellium in Taurus. Your focus on the unique things that you would call your possessions, the material comforts that help you feel just really grounded and to feel the pleasure of life and to feel the connection with nature and earth, those things that bring you peace. All of this is coming into the forefront. What do you value, right? Setting appropriate boundaries is also a Taurian quality. So now, Taurus is not a sign, unlike Uranus, the planet, that is about change. Taurus likes things to stay the same. So there's a resistance to change. There can be a stubbornness. There can be an attachment to things or a possessiveness. So just be aware that if there is anything in your life that you don't want to let go of, that you're attached to, that actually needs to be extricated, it will come up for you, and just allow it to. So you're here to explore new options now. You're here to look at financial windfalls that are very much enhanced. This is all Taurus and Venus. Remember, Taurus rules the second house in astrology, which is the house of the flow, the energy exchange of money, what you value deep down, what makes you feel worthy and what makes you feel grounded. So the security of having a home, the security of trusting that, again, that faith, that what if you value the faith in the universal divine flow, then you actually feel secure. And this is really the message here of Taurus. So Mercury is part of the stellium. Mercury and Uranus govern the lower and higher mind, so that it really helps you to explore your creativity with a lot of clarity and intuition, because you have a lot of incisive insights and you can explore angles and just embrace new ways of seeing things. Now, it can create a little bit of a nervous energy when these two planets come together, so you definitely want to do your meditation, get out in nature, walk, whatever it is that grounds you. And then the communication factor, the loving communication, is also enhanced. Mercury conjunct Venus, Venus being the expressive planet. So expressing love, using words to touch others, and in turn allow yourself to be touched by the expressions of others. Paying attention to the sound of your voice and the sounds around you, right? What are you inviting into your life? Your sensitivity to the meaning behind sound is going to be stronger. It also is very wonderful for showing and giving gratitude. So giving in general. And of course, Uranus conjunct the sun brings tremendous excitement, unexpected energies, new unconventional directions that you wouldn't have foreseen before now. And that's the whole point of living in the moment. So you'll have an urge to break away from limiting situations. So limiting relationships, limiting career situations, limiting health regimens, limiting environments that you are in. So just be very open to welcome those thrilling new opportunities, and be sure to take time for that grounding meditative energy, because you will feel a tremendous sense of calmness as you set yourself free and embrace the natural flow. So Venus and Taurus create a major impact of peace and love and contentment. And your natural state is actually very much about being loving, being accepting, being peaceful, wanting quietude in your life, wanting a sense of serenity and feeling content. That is actually everyone's natural state. And you can tell that love is your natural state because love is what you experience when you are in this place of tremendous serenity. You feel such love, such appreciation and gratitude. So the spiritual heart naturally is open and expresses itself in a loving way. But this is not the same as romantic love. So Venus rules two signs, Taurus and Libra. Libra is the sign of romantic love, of two coming together. This spiritual love is more like gratitude and acceptance. It's more like joy and just being so content with your life. It's soft, it's gentle, it's sweet, it's subtle, and it's a lot less personal than romantic love, which has more of a passionate excitement to it. So this is more like the love that you feel when you know yourself as the world, not expecting anything from anyone else or seeing yourself as the other, but seeing yourself as part of the whole. And so with Taurus, this serenity that you get allows you to sink into that security, that acceptance, that inner peace, that contentment, to drop into that divine source energy, the essence energy, and no longer identify with the separation, which is the egoic mind. So our natural state, our natural consciousness is love, and we are all here, all of us, to discover that. That is the reason we incarnated. And of course, we have programming, and the programming gives us the impression that we are actually our mind, that we are the ego. And it conceals the truth that we are love. And that programming is being dismantled. The programming is actually represented by that big stellium we had last year, beginning of 2020, that started the decade, the stellium in Capricorn. So that old programming is now in the state of total dismantlement, if that's a word. So what we're discovering is that love is truly the energy that holds the universe together. But the mind, can it understand something like that love holds the universe together? Well, you talk to somebody who is very much in their mind, somebody who is an academician or a scientist or just analyzes life more than anything. If you say that love holds the universe together, is the energy that holds the universe together, they're going to say no, right? The mind can't comprehend that. And this is why it's so lovely to have Mercury, the planet that governs how we think, and Venus merged together in the stellium, Venus, planet of love, merged together with the sun and Uranus to set us free to embrace that far greater experience beyond the mind. Because when you hear that love is the energy that glues everything together, right? It underlies everything. You have to suspend your disbelief and trust. And you have to take this as faith. This truth has to be taken as faith. And again, not blind faith. That's a belief that comes from the mind. Beliefs are created in the mind. They're based on programming, right? But true faith comes from the spiritual heart. It's subtle. You can't really define it. It's almost like, describing a piece of music. It's very difficult, right? So faith is the ability to just let go, surrender, and begin seeing love everywhere. And just know that what you believe has a huge impact on how you perceive life. So if you believe that love is everywhere, if you start just putting that out there, because love is everywhere, then you'll experience that. However, if you still believe that darkness and evil are everywhere, then that's what you'll see. No matter how much love is in front of you, that's what you'll see. So it's really important to acknowledge, first of all, that love is everywhere, because doing that counteracts your ego's assumption that it is not, and that life isn't safe, it isn't secure, and it isn't supportive. So unless you counteract that negative belief about life, you're likely going to keep identifying with your ego, your mind. So this is where faith is very, very important. So to wake up to who you are, your divine nature, and live in alignment with your divine nature instead of the ego, you have to train yourself, which Taurus is very good at, step-by-step secure Taurus. Every earth sign is good for this kind of training. You have to train yourself to see life as God, as source, as love sees it, instead of as the ego sees it. So the more you do this, the more the divine will begin to live through you. And you will express the divine with what you do, with what you say, instead of the ego. And you will be rewarded by happiness. You will be rewarded by peace and the capacity to bring others as well into a state of happiness and peace. So how do you put this into practice? Well, one way is to see every act as an act of love, both within you and others. So this would start with just the simple gestures that happen with every person everywhere. Allowing love to listen, allowing love to greet, allowing love to make dinner, allowing love to shop for food, allowing love to play with a child, allowing love to drive safely, to touch, to smile, to kiss, to laugh, to sing, to play, to create. So one exercise might be to notice all the ways that you express love in your life, and also to notice how others express love in their life, because love is everywhere. So it's expressed all the time, but it's often unnoticed because it is quiet, it is subtle, and it's behind the scenes often, but it's being expressed nonetheless. Versus the ego, which is absent of love. The ego is where you only see problems and lack, and right? So if you can see love in every action, there would be no reason to judge, which causes separation and hatred and suffering, and you wouldn't then be contributing to that separation and hatred that actually feed that sense the ego has, that it must oppose others to keep itself safe. So this stellium is freeing you up through Uranus, because Uranus is in the group, right? To always act from a place of love. And when egos actually receive love and receive compassion, they resonate with it, and they then express love. Maybe not right away, because there's a great deal of wounding that may still need to heal, but eventually the ego will melt away. So love heals, and it helps you evolve out of that fear into the peace that is represented by God, by Source, by Spirit. The other choice to live is judgment and retribution, which they only confirm to serve the ego's suspicion that it needs to do everything in its power to protect itself and to get what it wants from the world. So the way to help turn this around is to see love in every act and remember that every human being is inherently good. And that can sometimes be difficult, right? We see an act and we say that's not a good thing. But underlying the act is an urge to set yourself free and to be joined with love. So just affirming someone else's natural goodness allows you to feel that compassion for them, and that the person is creating the challenges for himself or herself and everyone else involved in their life out of ignorance of the truth that love is everywhere in everyone. And as a result of this affirmation of everyone's natural goodness, right, their inherent goodness, you then become more interested in dispelling that ignorance, that love, ignoring that love is what makes up the universe, what makes up everyone to the core is love. You become more interested in dispelling that ignorance and then healing those involved, as opposed to judging them, punishing them, casting them aside, separating yourself from them. So finding love in people is the key here with the Stellium. It really is an activation to see love in people being helpful when they're receptive, when they're considerate, when they're polite, when they're giving attention, when they're smiling. Those are ways that people show their love and their goodwill. And in fact, speaking of giving attention is one of the quickest ways to act in a loving way, because what you give your attention to is what you love. And whom you give your attention to is whom you love. So if you're giving your attention to the egoic mind, you're loving the egoic mind. But if you're giving your attention to others, you're loving them and you're joining in unity with them. So ask yourself, what are you giving your attention to? Since the mind is only interested in itself, giving attention to someone else will override the ego's tendency to only focus on itself. So giving your attention to others is a wonderful way to channel love. The energy of love energy is immediately channeled when you do that, regardless of how you might feel about them. In a personal way, giving your attention to them is a loving act, right? And it connects you to them. It connects you all in the energy of love, which is their true nature and your true nature. And it's very subtle, but it is felt. So giving others attention is a way to acknowledge your oneness with them and facilitating the experience of oneness with them. And it causes them and you to feel love, and that feels good. So it's much more rewarding than giving attention to the mind, ultimately. And then giving attention is just as rewarding when you give it to whatever you are doing. You are creating. You are focusing on a project, whatever the case may be. It can be very simple, a practical endeavor, or it can be something in your career that you're excited about or that you need to move through. Whatever it is, giving attention on that is just as rewarding. Whereas your ego will draw you into the unreal world of thought, and the ego always entices you to pay attention to the past or fantasies about the future. It's never in the present moment. Notice that with the ego. Or the ego focuses on things that help you stand out and be special, right? To put you above others in some way, or to put others down. Giving your attention instead on whatever is going on in the moment, whatever you're doing, is an act of loving life. So lavishing your attention on what's going on in the present moment, which is the only thing really that matters, right? It rewards you then with the experience of love and peace and contentment and all those indicators that you are in the flow. So only when you're fully present in the moment can you actually experience real love. That's when you're in a place of acceptance and joy and peace and contentment. And so all you have to do is put your attention on what is happening now versus on what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future, fantasies and whatever the case may be. So your thoughts, in other words. Put your attention on now. Stop thinking, unless it's for practical reasons. And notice that love is everywhere. Have faith that love is the energy that holds the universe together. So this is the message of this absolutely gorgeous stellium in Taurus. And it really is an awakening of abundance and trust that you have everything you need in life to move through life in a very beautiful, serene, grateful, pleasurable way. So I wish you an absolutely gorgeous week. And remember, there's a lot of love and pleasure and excitement in your own star code, which describes who you are at soul level. It describes your true nature. And your star code is based on your birthday and your birth certificate name and your star code, the astrology code that you have. And I've created a free masterclass at starcodeclass.com. Just go there, it's free. You have a handout and you can discover your and others' star codes because it helps to set you free. And it helps to take you to a place of truth and serenity. So enjoy that at starcodeclass.com. And I will see you in next week's Star Codes podcast. Lots of love.